All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar, Don't Fall for It, Cybersecurity Awareness Training. My name is Ashley Zeza. I'm the marketing director here at Lumifi. If you guys are not aware, have not heard, Lumifi has recently acquired Critical Insight. So a little bit about who Lumify is. So we are an MDR provider with a 24/7 SOC located here in Scottsdale, Arizona. We've got our own proprietary technology, Shield Vision. If you'd like to learn a little bit more about who we are, just feel free to drop us a note in the chat and we'll be happy to speak with you further. And then, all right, so for today, if you would like to get your cybersecurity certificate for attending this training, please also feel free to drop a note in the chat and we'd be happy to provide you with that certificate. And then, all right, we'll get started with today. Mike Hamilton is going to be the presenter. He is our Lumifi's Field CISO, formerly Critical Insight founder and CISO. So take it away, Mike.
Okay, thanks, Ashley. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Security Awareness Training. Why are you here? You might be here because you have a bunch of information on your network that you don't want to get stolen. There are bad results from things like that, like class action suits. You don't want to lose your intellectual property. You don't want customers to run away. You don't want to get fined. You don't want to have the Federal Trade Commission accuse you of false claims, things like that. Those are all bad. More importantly, if you are someone that provides services like local government, that's water purification, waste treatment, traffic management, communications for law enforcement, public safety, emergency management. You may be in healthcare. We know what's happening to healthcare. Thank you for being here. Maybe you're here because this is an annual requirement, like Ashley just said, and you need credit for doing this. We can provide that. Maybe you're just bored. We don't care. Thanks for being here. What do we want you to take away from this? The internet is not a nice place. It used to be for Grateful Dead bootlegs and cat videos, not anymore. The internet is here to sell to you, steal from you, and manipulate your opinion, and it's gotten really good at doing that last one recently. There are a few ways that bad actors get into networks. We're going to talk about those and the steps that you can take to prevent those. The bait is coming from everywhere now. It's text messages, it's phone calls, it's fake videos, it's social media. Yes, it's email. We're going to talk about all of those methods. We're going to look at a whole lot of the bait to show you what you might see that you need to avoid. And it's important to realize that these are not shotgun blasts that go out over the internet just trying to find gullible people. These things are targeted now. They're going to go to LinkedIn. They're going to find out who reports to who can authorize the movement of money, and they're going to emulate that person, and they're going to say, hey, I need you to do an emergency wire transfer, something like that. We're going to talk about all those tactics. All right, let's not wrap our heads around cyber nonsense. All right, there are business outcomes that we're trying to avoid here. Here's 5 business outcomes to keep in mind. Number 1, unauthorized disclosure of protected records. Okay, personally identifiable information, privacy information, health information, financial information. Don't want to do that. If you lose those records, they get made public. All of a sudden, there's a class action suit. Okay, nobody wants that. Theft through business email compromise that we'll talk about. It can also be theft of intellectual property. It can be theft of resources like CPU time. Okay, we'll talk about that. Extortion through things like ransomware that we'll talk about. Other ways like they'll throw so much at your network, at your network connection that it can't function anymore. It's denial of service. And then they'll say, hey, you want this to stop? Just pay us. Okay, extortion is a real problem now. Your network could be used to attack others. That has happened recently over and over and over, and we've saw some really, really big examples of that. Change Healthcare. Change Healthcare affected hundreds of hospitals across the country. They got into one, 600 were affected. Okay, and then now, because of the geopolitical situation in the world, now things are just getting destructive for the sake of being destructive. Okay, things called wipers. Right, we're going to talk about that stuff. All right, first, a little vocabulary, because hey, we throw around a lot of terms that we just expect everybody to know, and it's not really fair. All right. So ransomware. Ransomware was one form of extortion. How does this work? Like everything else, a little piece of unwanted software is going to get on a computer. Okay. Those little pieces of unwanted software, they can be rigged to do a lot of things. They can surveil your keystrokes and get your login information. They can pull all of the saved passwords out of your browsers. They can look for records to steal, or they can provide interactive access to somebody on the other side of the world who can come and go in your network with impunity. What do? They look around, they find your backups, they find your critical servers, they find records. Those records go out the front door, and then they lay in encryption software and all your important stuff, and it comes down to one button push, and everything on your network is encrypted, and nothing works. And then the extortion demand comes in. The combination of the records and the encrypted network is called double extortion, because your insurance company may say, we're not going to pay them. We're just going to rebuild everything. And they'll say, oh, really? Then we're going to make these records public, and you're going to get a class action suit, and that's going to be even more expensive. All right. The bad guys know how our laws work, and they use those against us. Okay. That's ransomware. It's extortion. Business email compromise. More money is lost to this than everything else. Why? Because it's easy. There's a few variants of this. On the low end, I'm just going to send you an invoice to your accounts payable people, and they may just pay it. There's a threshold under which they're not going to question that. Okay, that's pretty simple. Kind of in the medium range, you'll get email from someone of authority like the CEO who says, I need to give our customers free gift cards at a conference I'm at. Would you please buy those for me? And just give me the serial numbers. Okay. Right. Be aware that that's a tactic you're probably going to see. On the high end, it works like this. Piece of email will come in probably to HR, and it will look like it comes from a company employee, and it will say, I just got a new bank account. Please deposit my checks into this new account. And if they fool HR into doing that, all of a sudden, these payments are redirected. This happens at a large scale. I saw this happen recently with the city of Seattle. City of Seattle supports a lot of NGOs, non-governmental organizations. One's called Mary's Place. Mary's Place is a homeless shelter for women and children. Okay, somebody got into Mary's Place email system, surveilled the email, found out who to talk to at the city of Seattle, sent email as Mary's Place to the city and said, we got a new bank account. Please deposit our support into this new account. And they didn't find out till $800,000 later. Okay, there's a lot of money lost to this. We're going to talk about these tactics. Crypto mining. Okay, cryptocurrency. Everybody kind of knows what that is now. What is cryptocurrency mining? It's when a computer goes to work to solve a cryptographic algorithm, right? A big string of numbers. And when it finds a solution, that's minting a coin. And the miner, the person that ran the computer, gets paid for the coin. Okay. Well, if power is cheap, go rack up computers over in Wenatchee, Washington, where all the power comes from falling water, and call it good. Do it in a data center. Well, now power is expensive, the value of cryptocurrency is high, and so what the bad guys do is they will use compromised computers all over the world and have them turn into crypto miners. What happens? Well, your fan won't go off on your computer. Your computer is so sluggish it won't work. It's theft of CPU power, right? It's theft of a resource. And it's not just in computers like we think of computers. We've found this running in VoIP phone systems at a customer. It's anything with a CPU. That's cryptocurrency mining. Okay, pig butchering. Pig butchering is now a term we're not supposed to use. There was a news article yesterday put out by Interpol saying, please don't use this term anymore. Call it romance baiting. So the next time we do this, we're going to change this title to romance baiting, okay? But here's what it is. It's a fake persona. You've probably been approached by some of these people, and they will immediately try to get some kind of relationship going to gain trust. They're going to introduce some kind of probably cryptocurrency investment opportunity. They will get you to invest a little money. they'll give you access to a fake portal that shows your money increasing in value. You're going to want to put in more, and all of a sudden they disappear and money's gone. Right? Right? That's romance baiting, formerly called pig butchering. It's actually a Chinese term that translates to pig butchering, and it means fattening up a pig before you butcher it. Okay. All right. So that was a little bit of vocab. Let's talk about the 3 most prevalent tactics that bad actors use to get into your network and your computer systems. Okay. Credential abuse, credentials, passwords. Okay. Here are the low end methods. If you picked one of these passwords, if you use a password like this anywhere, I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do for you. All right. That's just, that is such a bad practice. But these are the 10 most prevalent passwords people use. All right. This is a self-inflicted wound. If your password gets guessed and it was the word password, you made it too easy on them. All right. So if you don't change default passwords, for example, you get, I don't know, a new piece of technology like a cable modem from your provider, and you don't change the password on that. Well, somebody might figure that out. Phishing and vishing, we'll come back to this. This is a way that they will approach you with some kind of offer to read a document or something like that, and you go click the link and it goes, okay, log in. Well, what they're doing, they're just collecting your password. There's password guessing, right? These would be the first ones I would guess. But there's also these dictionary attacks, and there's tools out there that have been around a long time, like John the Ripper. Go Google that right now. You'll find it. It's a password guessing tool. Works very well. And they will try every word in a dictionary and common types of passwords. So for example, if today you're changing your password to winter 2024 exclamation point, they know that. That is just a very simple pattern that they will absolutely test. Stolen passwords. When Yahoo was going through an acquisition, they lost 1 billion passwords. Okay, which is not a good thing to happen for your valuation when you're going through an acquisition. I say this with some authority. And if you had a password in that Yahoo dump and you've used that password anywhere else, they may find you. Okay, so don't share passwords. The mid-range methods, okay, one of these is called credential stuffing. What is that? It's just, I'm hitting you with every password I can on your account. I'm hitting you with every password. And it's usually one of those stolen password databases. Okay. Causing MFA fatigue, multi-factor authentication. Multi-factor authentication, let's just make sure we know what this is. It's the combination of 2 or more of the following: something you know, something you have, something you are. What's something you know? It's a password. What's something you have? It's a phone. So if a code comes to my phone after I give a password and I type that code in, I've just proved I'm holding the phone, something I have. Last one is something you are, like iris print, handprint, things like that. Okay. Well, let's just say you're trying to log in to something and you give the second function, you give the second factor there, and you're in. Okay, that's great, right? And you probably did that for the computer that you're at right now. Well, if all of a sudden a whole bunch of challenges for the second factor show up, hey, do you authorize this? Do you authorize this? Do you authorize this? And you get tired of it, you go, go away. You just let somebody in. All right. That's MFA fatigue. That's what that is. I'm going to hit you with so many challenges. In order for you to make it to go away, you're just going to accept one of them. And you just gave away the farm. There's also info stealers. Info stealers, like the example here, right? So here's Google Chrome. See where it says update? Well, if you haven't updated it, you have a vulnerable browser. And we'll talk about what that means to be vulnerable in a minute. If your vulnerable browser goes and hits a website that's been rigged, or you bite on a piece of malware that is an info stealer, it's going to suck all the credentials that you've stored in your browser out, and they're gone. They're gone. That's bank passwords. That's all kinds of stuff in there, right? So what's the take home on that one? Is keep your browser updated, right? So if Chrome is telling you right now, restart to update, you need to do that. Probably right after we're done here. Credential stuffing. Okay, here's what it looks like. There are compromised computers and bots, okay, all over the world. And what they do is they go to work and they're just pounding somebody's account, guessing, trying all these stolen passwords, okay? And it's coming from all over the world. And eventually they're going to get a hit, right? Because while there are an infinite number of passwords and passphrases that you can concoct for yourself, there's this top 100 that a lot of people use. And so it's not that difficult to do. Here's an example. These are login failures on my account, and they were every 20 seconds for days and days. And look where they're coming from: Moscow, Kuwait, India, China. Obviously, these are computers all over the world. This is not people behind keyboards doing this. These are bots, automated, and they're all given a job to do, and they all work in concert to do this. Okay, so yeah, you might want to go check your, if you use, for example, Microsoft Authenticator app, you might want to look at it and say, look at recent activity. If you got a bunch of stuff like this, you are under attack. On the high end, SIM swapping. Okay, so how does SIM swapping work? Well, it's, there are these data brokers out there that collect a lot of information from apps and from public information. They put all that together and they sell it to people, right? And you've seen these services. You can look up information on people, including credit reports and all these things. Well, if I get enough information to be able to impersonate you, I can go to your phone company, right? Verizon, probably not. T-Mobile, probably not. But the smaller ones, they don't have as good of controls in place. And I can convince someone there that I'm you by giving all this information that I've collected. I would say, look, I was taking a ferry across Puget Sound, and I was taking a picture with my phone of Mount Rainier, and an orca jumped out of the water and ate my phone. So this is my new phone, and I would like you to connect my old phone number to this. And if you fool them into doing that, I now have your phone. I have your phone. That means I can go to your Google account and I can go, forgot password. And it will say, oh, what's the code that just showed up on your phone? And I'm in. I am in. Okay. That's a SIM swap. Active session token stripping. Okay. How does that work? You get a phishing message. Okay. Some message that says, here's our new office occupancy policy. Okay. Well, people probably pretty want to read that, right? Well, that thing may be a link that looks like a link to you. And what it does is it activates a script. And that script goes over to a proxy system where the session token is stripped off, presented to Microsoft. Microsoft says, hey, great active session you got there, but I haven't ever seen your device. So here's the challenge for the second factor. Route it back to the user. User thinks they're getting challenged so that they can read the new Office policy. And if they say yes, you just gave away Teams, Microsoft 365, SharePoint, OneDrive, and all your single sign-on applications, and it took less than a minute. Okay? So, multi-factor authentication challenges coming out of the blue when you know you're already logged in. You need to be very well aware of that. I am already logged in. There is no reason for me to get this challenge. Okay? Threats of violence. Unfortunately, because of Russian affiliate models in how they distribute malware, ransomware, their infrastructure, their tools, you don't really need to have skills anymore to do this stuff. You can just kind of rent it from them. And there's all kinds of active markets out there that will sell and, allow you to use this stuff for a fee. That means now the bad guys are not all on the other side of the world. Now they are domestic. And there's a gang called Scattered Spider that's known to be Gen Z. And they are in the US and the UK. A few of them just got arrested. They have been known to use threats of violence to get people's passwords. Bricks have gone through windows. People have been threatened with all manner of violence. These are going on now. So those are the high-end methods. All these are credential abuse, right? How we get passwords that don't belong to us, use them to get into somebody's network, right? Bypassing multi-factor authentication. Again, this MFA fatigue, it just keeps going until you go, I got to make this go away. Session token stripping. Remember this, right? When you hit one of these links and all of a sudden you get hit with another, a challenge for the second factor, be very, very aware. How do we do this? How do we avoid this? Okay, so first of all, Don't use a password like password or 123456789. Just don't do that. All right, that is a self-inflicted wound. It is much better, and this is brand new guidance that has come out from NIST, National Institute of Standards and Technology, regarding how to do passwords. Upper, lower, special characters, that's out. Changing every 60 or 90 days, that's out. You want to have one long passphrase, first sentence of a book, something you remember easily. In fact, I will tell you that not anymore, but the passphrase to the master decryption key for the city of Seattle used to be, the galley is always at the Seattle end of the boat. And if you've ever been on a ferry, you know that that's true. Now, it's not that anymore, but that's a really good example. Okay. You combine that with multi-factor authentication, and that passphrase should be changed once a year. Okay. This is what NIST is saying to do, right? So pick yourself a nice big passphrase, use multi-factor authentication. It's always a good idea to use a password vault, and do not store credentials in browsers. Why? Because they get poached from these info stealers. Okay, so if you have a password vault, there's Keeper, Bitwarden, OnePass, LastPass, Dashlane. There's a whole bunch of these. They're all pretty good. Yeah, some of them had security problems, but everybody has security problems. Don't store your creds in browsers. Store them in a vault. Remove them all from the browsers, and you're going to be much better off. You might want to go to haveibeenpwned.com, put in your email address, and see if the password has showed up in a password dump, because that'll tell you, I need to change that. Okay, that was credential abuse. All right. Number 2, vulnerability exploit. What's a vulnerability? The example I will give you is from something called SendMail. Okay, SendMail was the very first mail transport agent, MTA. I believe it was first. Runs on Unix, Linux systems. So way back, Eric Allman was developing SendMail, and he said, okay, I need a variable for sender address. All right, a sender address is never going to be longer than 255 characters, so I'm going to give it a 255 byte buffer. So when an incoming email came in, the sender address would be pulled out, put into memory in that space. He did not bound the buffer. So what happens at character 256, 712, 1461? You overflow the buffer. And if you know that offset just right, the number of bytes to go past the end, you can put your choice of executable code into the running stack of the machine, and you've just taken it over. It's now your machine. Okay, that's called a buffer overflow. That's one type of vulnerability, and it's first was described in this paper, Smashing the Stack for Fun and Profit. Great paper. Suggest you read it if you're interested. What else? Well, let's say that you are in a water utility and you buy programmable logic controllers, right? Those are components of operational technology, SCADA systems, and you put these PLCs in place and you never change the default passwords on them, and they are exposed to the internet. And what happens? The Iranians come along and compromise water utilities, and this just happened a few months ago. And it's because they did not change the default passwords on something that faced the internet. That is a real 1A mistake right there. Okay. It can also be, if you can be vulnerable because your users have never been trained, right? Which is why you are here getting all of this information, right? Your radar is going to go up because of this, right? That leaving them vulnerable to, biting on phishing messages, or not being able to, look at a sender address and go, oh, that's not the CEO, right? Those are vulnerabilities too. Now, here's what happens when these vulnerabilities are announced. Some of these are in products that are so broadly used that the bad guys go to work and they compromise thousands of systems all over the world very quickly. And because these criminal organizations are making so much money, they can invest in developers that can pull this stuff off. There have been recent things. One of them was called the Move It file transfer vulnerability. 1,000 organizations were compromised by that very quickly. OpenSSH was something a lot of people use for, encrypted connections to machines. that goes bad. It has to face the internet because you're trying to get there from the internet. Russia is scanning for your unpatched vulnerabilities. Yes, they are. And in fact, it's now a race. Okay. So when a patch is released and made public, right, we have a vulnerability. Here's the patch. Everybody goes to work right away. And again, they hire developers for this. They have lots of money to spend on this, and they reverse engineer the patch to figure out what it fixes. That way they can build something called an exploit that will, when they deliver it, break that thing and you take over the machine. Okay. The scanning for the vulnerable machines starts in 15 minutes. And I saw one article where when on-premise Exchange, right, the Microsoft MTA, right, Microsoft Mail, when that went vulnerable, the scanning started by the country of China in 5 minutes after that announcement came out. 5 minutes, right? So it is now a race. Okay. They also load up the scanners with the exploit, and so it's all automated now. They will scan, they find, they punch, move on to the next one, and it's happening that fast. So what's the take home here, right? Here's how bad this is. I saw an article yesterday that the vulnerabilities in the what's called the known exploited vulnerabilities catalog that's put out by Homeland Security has gone way, 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 way up. And you can see the graph here. Look at this. So this is a good resource to have, because if you have something facing the internet and it's gone vulnerable and it's on that list, you really need to drop what you were doing and apply that patch right now, right? So you need to listen to your vendor announcements. You need to watch the news, find out when things have gone vulnerable, sign up for our daily news blast, the InfoSec Insider, because there's always going to be new threat and vulnerability information in there. If you are a home user, your phones, Microsoft products, Apple products, they kind of patch themselves, but you do need to restart to activate the patches. So if you look down in the bottom right of your tray right now and you have a little orange dot down there, that means you need to reboot your computer to activate the patches that came in the first part of December, and it's the last part of December, so you're behind. Okay, you must reboot to activate patches. Now, your iPhone is going to get nasty with you. Is a look, I've been asking you to restart for 3 days, so go ahead and go to sleep, because when you wake up in the morning, you got a new phone, right? That's kind of handy, but it's really better if you do it yourself. Okay, that was vulnerability exploit. Now, social engineering. There are things about us that make this easy on the social engineers, all right? Social engineering is trying to fool people into doing something. I mean, that's really what the basis of it, okay? But these things about us that cause us to react when we should be being thoughtful and looking at things are, for example, hyperbolic discounting. Do this now, only 9 left. Go, 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 right? You may react to that. The authority bias, something appears to come from the CEO. Oh, I better get that done, right? What else? Curiosity effect, news. I remember at the city of Seattle, and this will tell you how long ago that was, that we had a message come in. It said, Saddam Hussein found alive. Everybody bid on it, okay? So things that people are curious about, they show up in, social media, text message, email, things like that. You're more likely to bite on that because we have these bias, confirmation bias, right? I want to believe this thing because I already believe it, right? I mean, this thing is going to confirm something I already think, all right? That's what they use for bait, and it's because of us. There are these things about us, right? Phishing has gone way up. In fact, 2024, it has doubled from 2023. I read this yesterday, all right? So they're gonna emulate. They're gonna set up fake websites that look like DocuSign, Starbucks, T-Mobile, whatever. Okay, and they're gonna send you special offers and things like that. And it's Christmas season, folks. It's holiday time. People are buying gifts. So when somebody looks like they're advertising a real good deal to you, it may be leading you to a fake site that wants to do nothing more than collect your credentials, ask you for a login, you give away a password, maybe it's your Amazon password, and your credit card information. So you got to be very careful about this stuff. Very careful to always be looking at that URL. Am I going where this says I'm going? Okay. They can also, hit you with malware in these things. And I'll show you how to check it out, how to check out a URL here in a minute. Smishing. Okay, like I said, we got a bunch of weird secret handshake language. It's the same thing. It's phishing, but it comes over a phone. Okay, so you're going to see this. Your package has been delayed. UPS, FedEx, Amazon, whoever, right? It's going to show up. It's going to look like this. If you look at that URL, us.ps.irt-address.com, that is not the U.S. Postal Service. You got to have good enough radar to see that that has nothing to do with the U.S. Postal Service. And the statistic is this: the fake USPS sites that are set up get almost as much traffic as the real Postal Service site. And during the holiday season, they get more, right? People are so willing to bite on this stuff because I'm missing a package. I got to check this out. All right. Now look, this came from a number you don't know. It wasn't expected. You don't know what package is being talked about here. The URL they're sending to you is bad. All right. This thing could do all kinds of bad things if you decide to hit on it. All right. Don't hit on it. All right. Phishing, voicemail phishing. Okay. Again, with the secret handshake language. It's you got to be able to independently verify now something that somebody tells you over the phone. Why? Because it's easy enough to fake a voice, right? Deep faking voices is trivial now. I read one thing that said they need about 3 seconds of voice to be able to clone your voice. Okay. They will call your help desk and pose as a user and ask for a password reset. There's a classic scam called the grandchild in trouble. Hey, grandpa, I was on spring break in Spain and I got thrown in jail and I need you to bail me out and give me enough money to get home. And it sounds like the grandchild. Okay. Deep fakes, voice simulation is happening right now. So what we do is we kick bad guys out of computer networks, and we also have a consulting division that breaks into computer networks. And we know that if we're having any trouble breaking into computer networks, we can do something like call the help desk, pose as a user, and say, look, to recreate my problem, just go to this URL. You'll see exactly what happens. And once they do, bang, we gotcha. Somebody gives you a URL over the phone, don't bite. Do not. Deepfakes. Yes, video deepfakes. These are getting so good. That's a real story right here. There was a fake CFO who did a video meeting with a company and convinced somebody in accounts payable to start wiring away $1 million at a time. And because this was so convincing, they didn't catch it till $25 million later. Right? Well, these are really easy to do now. We've seen them in political ads, right? So here's deepfake Putin here. This actually showed up a lot during the last election. Deepfakes and disinformation combined. What do people do, right? People just do not have the radar to resist this, right? But you need to be aware that this is happening. Okay, all right. So those were the 3 prevalent methods, right? Credential abuse, vulnerability exploit, and different kinds of social engineering, all kinds of fakery, all right, going on. Let's look at some bait now. Business email compromise. Okay, look at this. Hey, I got email from the CEO, who is Garrett Silver, who is not chief_exec.officer1@AOL.com. And I know this because I know the only 2 remaining AOL users. Okay. Well, look what it says. Michael, I'm arranging some gifts for the staffs. Okay. All right. That's a grammatical construct that's not used in the United States very often. Set that aside. I want to show my personal appreciation with an Amazon gift card. Can you assist me here? Okay. All right. Remember the tactic. The CEO, authority bias, is asking you to buy gift cards. Oh, I remember that security awareness training. That dude said, hey, this thing happens all the time and I would see this. Yeah. So eyes up. Who's it from? That's not the CEO. Delete. Or you can engage with them and mess with them a little bit. And lately, things like this have been coming over to text messages, right? Because when you send out email, your phone number is probably in that email block, right? Somebody will get a hold of that and they'll send you a text message. Hey, this is the CEO. I'm at a conference. I can't talk to you on the phone because I'm in the middle of a talk. But can you do me a favor? Right? That's what's going to show up. All right. Microsoft does not say these things to you. All right. If you have limited, mailbox space in Outlook, there will be a thing in Outlook that says your storage is 98% full. You're not going to get a piece of email from Microsoft telling you that. Microsoft doesn't tell you that. Right? So pretty much anything that looks like it comes from Microsoft should be regarded with suspicion. Eyes up. Who's it from? Look at those from addresses. None of those are Microsoft, right? This is pretty easy to suss out, and yet this works. A QR code is a URL. And these things are now all over the place. You just randomly scan URLs you find, posted on, you know, uh, light poles and stuff like that. You could end up going to a very bad place. It could lead to malware. It could lead to a phishing page. It could lead to all kinds of things, right? So if you don't really know the context of one of these QR codes, like you're at a restaurant and there's a menu, don't scan it. In fact, at the Black Hat and DEF CON conferences, right, which are the big cyber conferences, um, they put a red dot, not a big one like this, because we did this on purpose to obfuscate this. They'll put a little red dot on the real QR codes that they post around there, because they know if they ever find one that doesn't have a little red dot, it's fake. They found them all over the place. Now, at a conference like that, that's kind of what you expect, but this is a tactic. All right. Impersonating DocuSign, fake voicemail attachments. It's always about documents that you want to read that probably will lead you to a SharePoint login page, right? Be very, very careful with this stuff. And in fact, DocuSign and also Box.com and some others, because they use single sign-on, if someone is able to get your password, get into your email account, what they can do is they can go right over to DocuSign, load it up with malware, send a link to that malware or some kind of redirection to everybody in your contact list saying, here, I got something for you to read. And everybody in your contact list then goes and downloads malware. Okay. And it looks like it really comes from DocuSign, because it does. So if it wasn't expected, get a hold of the person that says they sent that and ask them about it, because these are now showing up with great frequency all over the place. I get these all the time. All right. Yeah. Don't fuck. So look, you are not going to get something free for your opinion. Not from Lowe's, not from T-Mobile, not from Starbucks, not from Costco. And they're using all of these, right? So remember, see where it says limited supply and 9 rewards remaining. The urgency bias in us goes, oh, I got to click, right? Don't click. You're not going to get anything from these people, from these companies. You're not going to get a Craftsman tool cabinet from Lowe's or Home Depot. You're not going to get a free gift card from Starbucks for your opinion. No, it doesn't work that way. These are always, always, always bad. Okay, look at this. Look at this offer. Comes out of the blue. Don't know this number. Looks too good to be true. Oh, I get $350 or $450 for 20 to 30 minutes of work. Hook me up. No, delete this. No, that is a shortened URL. You have no idea where it goes. It's not expected. It's not a credible offer, right? You would think that this is pretty easy to avoid, and yet the reason it shows up is because it works. All right. Well, here's Network Solutions telling me, hey, and in fact, I will tell you that a lot of these examples come from a very old email address that I set up in around 2000. And it is just a magnet for this stuff. So I registered that domain through Network Solutions. And I get these things in that email once a week. And they're all fake. Every one of these is fake. Okay. So action required. Your domain is about to expire, blah, blah, blah. No, it's not. I know it's not. All right. So, okay. See at the bottom here, the link, the renew now link. I ran that through a service called VirusTotal, and it goes, nope, this is badness. Okay. And I'll show you another example of that in a minute, because this is a really good tool for you to use. If you're ever suspicious about a URL you got, looks like it came from somebody you know, run it through VirusTotal. All right. LinkedIn. LinkedIn has been a cesspool lately. So here's a recent campaign. This was sent to me by a contact over at the Washington State Fusion Center. And so it comes from LinkedIn, who is not gburke@ionvillage.com. Okay, that's pretty easy to suss out. I hover over this image here, and it says I'm going to a dental office. Okay, good job. You figured out this was fake. Go the next step, put the URL into virustotal.com, and it will run 90 something virus checkers over it. Virus is kind of an old term, but that's what we got. And it will tell you what's found about this thing. And that way you know this is bad. Tell your friends and neighbors. Don't click the link. Fake job offer from LinkedIn, all over the place. Okay, miscellaneous threats. These are fun. Okay, this is called an advance fee scam. You may know it as the Nigerian prince, and it takes a lot of forms. I am a soldier in Syria, and I have a barrel of money that I want to get back in the United States. I need your help. I am a woman in Africa dying of cancer, and I need someone to help me give away my fortune to charity. Um, we are in the process of moving a pallet of gold from Thailand to China, and I need your logistical expertise. Okay, I mean, there's all kinds of forms of this, but they all work basically the same way. You're going to get offered something of value, okay, and when you engage, they're going to start asking you for money. I need to pay a bribe. I need to file this paperwork. I need to fly across the country. I need to do this. I need to do this. And it never, never stops. And I've seen people get pulled into this for years, for years. All right. Now, take a look at this fakery, right? This USPS. First of all, who's it sent to? Undisclosed recipients. What does that mean? It means 1,000 people on a BCC list. Okay. They don't know who you are. They pulled your email address out of the blue. You're on a big list that nobody can see, right? And it says USPS. Okay, here's my the thing that stuck, and we need to verify your address so that we can send it to you. And it looks like it's a COVID-19 beneficiary card. All right. They don't know who you are. So they're asking you for all of this. And look at a copy of your ID, like you're really going to send that. Right. And here's my official working ID. So they may add an artifact that makes this look more real. Okay. This is nothing the USPS does. It didn't come from USPS. It came from a Gmail address. It goes to undisclosed recipients. It's clearly bad grammar in there, although that problem is going away because generative AI will write these things now. Right? So you get something like this, you should laugh at it and then delete it. Social media comment scams. All right, so I am not a musician. I am a drummer. I hang around with musicians, all right? But if you are a musician, you know who Rick Beato is. Rick Beato is connected to everybody. He knows everybody in the music business. So he has a YouTube channel. He has great videos, right? What makes this song great? 20 greatest guitar intros or drum fills, if you're me. And is very active, and people are so somebody will comment on a video, and it doesn't have to be Rick Beato. It's like all the content creators. This is a big problem. Somebody will comment, and then somebody who looks like the owner of the channel will respond to that comment and go, I picked you randomly to get something cool. Go with me to this other communication channel and let's talk about it. All right. That could end up being probably an advance fee scam. Hey, I'm going to send you an autographed guitar. You got to pay $150 for shipping and handling. Sounds great to me. All right. But guitar is not going to show up. All right. Could be other things, could try to collect your credit card number, could be all kinds of things, right? But the tactic here is let's change channels and talk about it somewhere else. Okay. The computer support scam. Everybody's seen this. Okay. So this pops up in the middle of something you're doing, and let's talk about how that got there. Okay. So you're on a website and this thing pops up. Oh my God, I'm full of viruses. No, you're not full of viruses. Okay. What happened is the site you're on got injected. Let me explain what that means. When you interact with a web application, a website that you can interact with, it's done through form fields. Okay. You type stuff in a form field, and if it's a mature, well-formed application, it will take what you put in that form field and go, okay, hold on. Is there anything in here that looks like an attack? These weird characters? Okay, database, give them what they want. If it is not a mature, well-formed application that does something called server-side input validation, you can put direct structured query language commands into the form field. Okay, that's how you talk directly to a database. And so if it's not checking out your input, it'll go right to the database. And you can make it barf up its entire contents, or worse, inject something into it. Okay, this happens thousands of times a day all over the world. If I asked you what kind of websites were the ones that were most likely to get injected like that, you would probably not say churches, but that's what it is. Why? Because church applications are written by volunteers, church websites, okay? So this thing pops up, do not engage, do not engage. If you do, here's what's going to happen. You're going to talk to somebody on the phone. They're going to be on the other side of the world in a boiler room full of people working this same thing. And they're going to say, okay, we got to check your computer out. So connect to this website. And you're going to connect to a website. They will read a URL over the phone, right? Don't do that. And they will connect to the same site. And the site is designed to put those connections together as if that was a help desk, and it will let them take control of your computer. They can move your mouse around. Okay, they can run applications, and what they'll do is they'll run a bunch of fake stuff that says virus, 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 virus. And then they're going to go, oh, it looks like your support contract has lapsed. Would you like to buy a new one? So don't fall for this. Don't fall. I answered a call last week from a guy down the street who said, hey man, this thing just happened. What's going on? Right? Be aware of this. This is fake. How do you get rid of it? You close the tab and it's gone. That's it. Now the newer ones will rise from your tray like it's a Microsoft message, and you know it's fake because one will say Symantec Norton, one will say McAfee, and it'll just keep going and keep going, and you can't make this go away. In order to get rid of that, you need to clear the cache in your browser. Everything's gone. It's fine, right? There's no harm, no foul. This is not malware. They're trying to get you to call that phone number. Don't do it. Secret shopper. Okay, so there's a lot of legit secret shopper sites, right? And some of those are better than others, but a lot of these are fake. And here's how they work, right? You engage, and they say, okay, so we're going to send you a check, and the check will show up, and there's the check. And it's going to be for right around $2,000. Why? Because they're assuming there's probably going to be that much money in somebody's bank account. Okay, and they're going to say, okay, deposit the check. Your bank's going to say it's fine. Wait till they credit the money in your account, and then we're ready to go. And here's what we want you to do. First, go to this gym, get a workout, and then write us a short report on the availability of equipment and how crowded it was, and how good the management was. Okay, and then go to this restaurant and get a meal and write us a short report on the quality of the food, quality of the service, cleanliness, things like that. And then whatever's left over, keep $200 for yourself for your trouble, and then wire the rest away to this Western Union address, and then write us a report on what you thought of Western Union. And then a few days later, if you do these things, your bank's going to come back to you and they're going to go, well, the routing number was a real bank, but that was a fake check. And so we're pulling the money back out of your account. So I hope you enjoyed the workout and the meal, because you just sent a whole bunch of money to bad guys. That's how this works. Don't get pulled into things like this. And they set up fake websites too, and they will have these testimonials on there. And you say, does this thing really work? Yeah, I made X amount of money in a very short amount of time. Oh, okay. And there will be 2 or 3 comments under that, and then they got cut off. And you'll see the last comment was years ago. Okay. All fake. All right. But people aren't careful enough to look at, like, what's the date on this thing? And they go, oh, this thing looks great. Don't get fooled by this. All right. Now, do's and don'ts, because we had to get to that part. So we talked about vocabulary. We talked about the prevalent methods for getting into networks: credential abuse, vulnerability exploits, social engineering. We looked at a lot of bait. We looked at some of the scams going on. Okay. If you don't want stuff like that to happen, don't follow every link you get in personal email. And in fact, the best policy, especially if you're in a position to create policy, is personal use on a personal device. When you are at your company or your whatever organization you work at, Facebook lives here, Gmail lives here, social media right here, not on the work computer. That way you avoid all this stuff. And I say this because when I was with the city of Seattle, we made a lot of measurements and we could prove, and this has since been borne out in other research, 40% of the compromised assets on the network came from the use of personal email. All right, think about it. Here's Outlook. It's all cleaned up, no bad links, no attachments. On the same screen, right next to it is a web browser opened up Bubba's email service with no controls whatsoever. What good did it do to spend all that money cleaning up? None, zero. So a policy of personal use on a personal device at your place of business drives 40% of the problem right off a cliff. Why won't you do that? Turns out people just won't do that. All right. Watch out for fake apps. Okay, we didn't talk very much about apps, but when you download apps out of an app store, how long has it been there? How many people have downloaded it? How is it rated? How many people have rated it? Because a 5-star rating by 3 people is statistical fuzz. It means nothing. Okay, be very careful because those apps, you get one on your phone, they're going to hit ad networks. Always in the background, somebody's going to get paid for all the ad access, and you're going to pay for all the traffic. They all track you. And like I said, all the data about your movements gets sold to data brokers and anybody can buy it. All right. So be careful about those apps. The bait. Remember all these examples. Remember the CEO, the emergency wire transfer, right? The buy me gift cards, the fake DocuSign, things like that. Okay. Be resistant. Patch your vulnerabilities and reboot to activate. Okay. And if you're on the IT team, and a vulnerability is announced and a patch is released for something that you have that is connected to the internet, drop what you are doing. This qualifies as an incident. This is now your highest priority. Get it patched, right? Don't circumvent security controls. When you go and you see the big red Microsoft page that says, we don't think you ought to go any further than this, believe them. They know what's on the other side of that is a site that looks like a SharePoint login page that is not SharePoint. There's a reason Microsoft tells you that. Other controls that are put in place by your organization, don't go around them, right? Don't reuse passwords. And again, it is better to use a password vault and prohibit the use of storing credentials in browsers, right? Because of these info stealers. Don't pick up a USB stick in a parking lot and jack it into a computer. Find one in a bathroom, turn it into IT. Say, hey, you guys got to check this out. I don't know what this is. Don't be curious about stuff like that because, again, we break into computer networks. And if we're having any trouble, we'll go throw them in bathrooms and parking lots. We do this, right? Bad guys do this. And remember, the bad guys are now in country, okay? We have a domestic problem. That means they have proximity to you and they can do things like this. Use multi-factor authentication as much as you can. Use full disk encryption, right? Most of us have, full disk encryption. This comes with Microsoft. If that's not turned on, turn it on, right? BitLocker. Report strange occurrences. That's the big thing right there. If you see something, say something. It's really important that you have some kind of reporting mechanism. My computer slowed down. Hey man, the fan won't go off, right? You got to tell people that. Hey, I got the new office policy and I logged into SharePoint, but there was nothing there. You got to tell people that. Okay. All right. Do these things. Remember these examples. Remember what the bait looks like. Remember what an advance fee scam is, right? The whole Nigerian prince thing. And if you have relatives that you think may be pulled into something like that, send them over here. We do this training once a month. All right. And with that, Ashley, back to you.
All right. Thanks, Mike. Thanks everyone for attending today's webinar. Be sure to subscribe to our daily IT security email blast curated by Michael Hamilton. It's called InfoSec Insider. And then also be sure to join us for further cybersecurity awareness trainings in 2025. And then also be sure to subscribe to our weekly Threat Watch podcast. If you guys have any questions or if you would like to get a certification for today's webinar, please drop a note in the chat and we'll be happy to provide you with one. All right.
All right. Thanks
all.
everybody for coming. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. If Kwanzaa is your jam, whatever, have a good time over the next couple of weeks. See y'all later.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.